Hello guys, welcome to my channel Rahul Automation Studio. So in this video, I'm going to explain you why do we need to write WebDriver equal to new ChromeDriver. So WebDriver equal to new ChromeDriver. So you must be seeing everywhere that the code is written in such a way that WebDriver and there is a reference of it, and after that we are creating a object of different drivers, right? So why do we need to write like this? So for that we have to understand the polymorphism and the different concept for it. So suppose there is a class which is ChromeDriver class, and there is one another class which is having suppose IE driver. There is one more class that is suppose Safari, and there is one interface, so which is our WebDriver interface. Okay, so just I write it. This is our WebDriver interface, and here it is our class ChromeDriver class. This is a class, and again we have one another class that is IE driver class. Suppose there is one more class that is Safari driver class. There can be more classes like Firefox driver class, right? Suppose there is one more class that is Firefox driver class. So there is a automation testing and they are the test cases. So maybe we need to require to run our test cases in different browsers, in multiple browsers. So the same test case, maybe today we need to run it in a Chrome driver, and maybe tomorrow we have to run the same test case in IE browser, and maybe it have to run in Firefox browser or in Safari browser. So for that purpose, and there is a one in WebDriver interface. So WebDriver is a interface and WebDriver is a class. So this WebDriver class is our child class, which and the WebDriver interface is our super interface in it. Okay. So all of these classes are implementing this WebDriver interface. Okay. So this WebDriver is our interface, and these drivers are the classes, and these are our child classes, and this is our super or parent interface. Now, why do we need to write WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver or maybe any other browser class? So let's start creating one class, Java class. So we are creating one class with the name of Selenium practice. Create a one class in it. In this class, we will create one method, public static void main. So why we are creating this main method here? We are creating the main method so that we can run our script or we can run our code. So why we are declaring it is as public? So public so that we can call it anywhere. That's why we are creating this method as a public. Why we are declaring this method as a static? We are declaring it as a static because there is no object has been created yet for the class. So to call this method with the class name, that's why we are calling and we are declaring this method as a static. And the void because this method will not return any value. That's why we are declaring this method as a void. And this is our main method which will be calling by the JVM. So JVM will automatically will call this main method for you. So that's why we are writing our one main method. and it is having the arguments of type strings. Okay, so it can take the arguments as a type of string values in it. So now WebDriver, suppose driver 1 is there. Okay, and you are creating a object of ChromeDriver class. So you can create like this. And suppose tomorrow you have to run the test case in a different browser. So maybe you want to run it in a Firefox. So how you will write it? So you will do WebDriver driver true equal to new Firefox driver. The same way, maybe you have to require it for maybe you need to require it for Safari, right? So how you will be doing it? You have to create different object for it. Okay, and the different variable name you have to pass. So suppose we are creating a object of Internet Explorer. Suppose we want to run our test case in IE. So in that case, you have to create a object of iDriver class. If you want to run it in a Safari driver, you have to create an object of a Safari driver, and you are storing this object in a WebDriver reference, and we are creating a variable driver 4, right? But there is another way that you can create a object. See, this is a class, so you can always create a object of your class, right? And you can always store that value in the class reference variable. So how you can do it? You can also do in that way. Instead of declaring WebDriver variable, you can also do ChromeDriver. So ChromeDriver is a class, and you are storing the object of a ChromeDriver class in a ChromeDriver reference variable, right? Like this, you can also create like that. In the similar way, you can do the same thing for the different browsers, for the different browser driver classes. So here you can declare it as a Firefox, right? Here you can declare it as a Internet Explorer. In the same way, you can declare this as a Safari driver, and you have to change the variable name. So you can give it as driver 6. You can give any name. There is no specific that you have to give it as a driver only. You can give A, B, C, Z, any name that you can give the variable name. So driver is mostly given so that it is recommendable and easily understandable. That's why we have give the name as a driver. But you can give any name as per your reference. Okay, so like this. So this is all are the correct. There is no error while creating the objects. So this is you are creating a different browser driver class and storing in the WebDriver reference in all these 4 drivers, right? And here what you are doing, you are creating a driver class object and storing the object in the same driver class reference variable, right? So like the ChromeDriver is storing the object in a ChromeDriver reference variable. For the Firefox driver, you are storing this object in a Firefox driver variable. All are correct. There is no error in it. But what is the issue? What is the error while creating such type of objects? So this is our driver class, and this one is our interface. So these classes are implementing our WebDriver interface. So here it is the object that you are creating, right? So like that you can also create it. So what is the error? What is the issue and challenge? Suppose today you are running the test case in a ChromeDriver. Okay, you have created it like that. But tomorrow you have to run the same test case or the script in Firefox driver. So what you have to do? You have to comment all of these lines like that, right? You have to comment the remaining lines, which is creating the different browsers. You have to comment all these lines. Suppose tomorrow you have to run in some different browsers, and in that case you have to comment out all the other different driver class objects code of line, right? So that is not the useful. And another challenge is that suppose there is another line of code, there are 100 line of codes, so you have to pass one variable, you have to pass one object reference variable that will be doing all the remaining actions, or all executing all the 100 lines of codes. So you have to pass the particular variable, and so how you will be passing it if there are multiple variable reference values? So how you will be passing that to particular 100 lines of codes also, right? So it is not a good practice to create in that way. You will be not be able to handle it and to manage it. So what is the best practice to handle this scenario? So the best practice to do is just remove, you don't create a driver class object and store it in a that particular class reference variable. Don't do that. So just remove this line of code. Now we are creating 4 different objects, right? Or 4 different classes, but here we are doing and storing in different WebDriver reference variables. So instead of doing that, what we can do, because we can't comment the line of code every time we run the test case in different browser. So in that case, what you can do, you can create a one object in one particular WebDriver reference variable, and the same variable you can use while creating the another class object, right? Because this is what we call it as a dynamic polymorphism. So if you remember the concept in Java for the dynamic polymorphism, the child class is there and there is parent class is there, or a WebDriver interface like interface is there. So the interface that super or the parent interface variable can store the value of a child classes, right? So that is called as a dynamic polymorphism. So as you can see, this Chrome driver, Safari driver, IE driver, Firefox driver, these are our child classes, and WebDriver interface is our parent interface. So we can store the different class objects in our parent interface reference object, right? In object, or you can say it as a reference variable. So you can do it, right? So we can do it and we can create it. So that's why let me do it in the practically. So how you can create it. So let's come to the script. So we have created one object, that is driver class, Chrome driver, and we will be storing it in a driver. Now you can use this same reference for creating the other driver class object. How you can do it? Just remove it. You can remove this as well. You can remove this as well. So instead of declaring a different variable name, you can use the same variable name, right? Like this. So there is no error and it is definitely correct. Now you must be saying, right, like there are multiple lines of code, and if you want to run the same script in different browser, you have to comment out the line. So what you can do here, you can put here if and else condition. So like you can put here conditions like if, right? You can pass it as a if. Suppose there is one variable name, that is, suppose browser is there, browser dot define one variable here, string browser, like this. And now what you can do, browser dot equal ignore case, and if it is equal to Firefox. So if it is equal to this, then please execute this line of code. Else you can put else if in the same way, and you can write browser dot equal ignore case, and if it is equal to I, you can execute this line of code and you can create an object for the internet browser. In the same way, you can do it like this for the else condition, right? Same way you can apply it for the Chrome browser as well. Else if, and here you can put as a if condition for the browser dot equal ignore case is Chrome, right? So you can see, and you can create, just define this variable outside of this particular if, right? Like that way. Now you are creating a reference of a parent interface, and this parent reference variable is storing the object value for the different classes for ChromeDriver, or maybe it is for Firefox, or it is for a IE driver. So you can create in such a way, and you can handle this logic, and you can run the test case and the script in multiple browsers with the same reference variable object. So that's why we have to write our line of code equal to WebDriver equal to new Chrome driver, or maybe it can be Firefox or any other browser driver class. So I hope that guys you liked it and you understood it, right? So in that way you can create it. Now suppose this is having our Chrome, so we can pass it dynamically while calling the method as well. So suppose this is our Chrome. Now let's run this test case. So this is giving one error to us, that is illegal state exception. So what the error is saying, it is saying the path to the driver executable must be set by the webdriver.chrome.driver, and this is a system property for it. So before executing the test case, before launching the browser, you have to set a property for the Chrome.driver. So how you can do it? So for that, first of all, you have to go to the browser and you have to download the Chrome driver exe, Selenium Chrome driver. So you can download it from here. Just go to that particular URL and you can see the downloads, and you can download the Chrome driver.exe as per your latest version or the Chrome browser version. You can download it from here. It should be compatible with your Chrome browser version. Okay. Now, once you will be downloading it, you have to click on here and it will start downloading automatically for you. See, you can see there are different versions. You can download it for Windows 32-bit, or you can download it for Mac. You can download it for Linux. Just click on anyone, and as per your requirement, it will download it for you. Once it is downloaded, put in your project or any other folder. So now what you have to do, I have already added this Chrome driver.exe file in my project under the resources folder. So what you have to do it now. So now you have to set the property system dot set property. So which property you need to set? You have to set the property for Chrome driver. So this is the property name for it. So you have to set the property name, and now you have to pass the value in it. So what is the value? In the value you have to pass the path for ChromeDriver.exe file. Just right click on it, copy path reference, copy the absolute path. Okay, like this you have to pass the variable and the value. So this is a variable, I mean this is a variable, you can say this is as a key and this is as a value. So you have to set the property for the ChromeDriver.exe file, and then you have to launch the Chrome driver or Chrome browser. In the same way, you have to set it for the different browser like Firefox driver. Also, you have to set the Firefox driver.exe. In the same way, you have to set it for I. Okay. So in that way, let's now try to run the test case. Click on run. Now it should be launch the Chrome driver or to the Chrome browser for you. You can see the browser, the Chrome browser has been launched by the script. And you can see there is a one warning, one alert and message is there that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software, that is our Selenium. So it is a totally different browser and it is being controlled by our Selenium, right? So let's close to this. So we are able to launch the Chrome browser. Now let's move to some next step and some basic and first program. So how you can start automating. Suppose you have any URL that you can launch in your Chrome browser. So let's try to launch a google.com. So for that you have to use driver dot get method is there. In the get method you have to pass the URL. So start with https semicolon spaces www.google.com. So in the same way, you can enter any application URL. Suppose you're working under a project, so you can pass that particular application URL under this driver.get. Okay. Now let's try to launch. Either it is opening a google.com for you or not. Let's run this main method. So it should launch the Chrome browser for you, and the google.com website, it should be loaded in your browser window. So you can see Chrome driver and the Chrome browser has been launched and the google.com website has been opened in your Chrome browser for you. So this is how you have to write your code. And why I was saying you have to write WebDriver driver equal to Chrome, new Chrome driver. So you can see there is same reference that is being used for creating the object for different driver or different browser classes, right? So you don't need to change this driver variable. It is the same that is being used for the Chrome, that is being same used for the Firefox, for the different I browser. So it is the same reference variable that is getting used, and the same we will be using across 100 lines of code of test case, right? So it is a best way and best way to create your test cases. That's why I always say you have to write like this code. Now let's go to some another next steps like driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. Suppose you want to maximize your browser windows. See, you can see this is not the maximize, this is the halfway. So you can maximize this window as well. So how you can do? There is one method that driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. So in that way, it will maximize this particular browser for you. Let's run this once. We have one just run it. So it should maximize the browser after loading this URL. You can change the sequence also. You can first you can maximize and then you can load the URL as well. Because browser instance is already initialized for us. So we can write in our way. Now you can see it has loaded the URL and maximize the range of query. So you can write now number of codes, number of line of code in it. You can do proper validations. What kind of validation? Because test case is basically validation. You will write some code and in the last you will validate something with expected to the actual value, and based on that you will be defined either it is a defect or it is a passing for you. So you can write all that. You can write like the you can write down the validate actions in it, and in the last what you will do, you have to close the browser. So to close the browser there is one method, driver dot quit, right? So after this it will close the browser for you. So now what we are doing here, first of all we are setting a property for our chrome driver.exe file. After that we are creating an object of ChromeDriver class and storing in our parent WebDriver interface reference variable. And after that, we are loading a URL in it, google.com, and we are maximizing the window. And after doing a lot of different operations and the validations, after that we will close our browser. Now we'll run this our main method, and let's do. So it is launching our Chrome browser. It is opening the URL google.com. It should do the maximize of the browser window after complete load, because get is a method which will be come to the complete load of the page. And you can see once it is complete load, it has done the maximize and it is closed the browser because we have used the driver.quit. So that's how it is. You have to write the line of code, and there can be multiple interview questions as well, like why do you need to write WebDriver equal to new Chrome driver, or how you can handle multiple browsers in your test case if you want to run the same test case in multiple browsers. So how you can handle it. So you have to explain and write down the code like this in that way. And if you want to maximize the window, how you can maximize. And in my coming videos I will be explaining you also what is the difference between get and to method, because there is a method that is navigate.to, and in that same method you can also navigate to that particular URL. So why we should use as a get method here, and what is the difference between get and to method. And there is one more method, driver.close. What is the difference between driver.close and driver.quit? So all these are different interview questions also. I will explain you in my coming videos. So thank you guys. That's it. I hope you like my video. And if you like my video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. Thank you guys.